Recording in progress.
Will be delivered by Istiana Deni Putri from University of Bengkulu, and title of her article, Strategy of Translation and New Broadcast on Television for Students. Due to Istiana Deni could not presents alive, so we only display the video. Let's check it out.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Putri. I am a student of postgraduate English education in University of Bengkulu. Today, I will explain about my material. I am a presenter of first seminar of particular university and COROLLA International Conference. My material is about strategy of translation in news broadcast on television for the students. The material will explain about introduction, research methodology, result and finding, and also the conclusion. The first one, I would like to explain about the introduction of my research. Actually, based on Jamal Mahmud Asmani on 2011, he said that information and communication technology has been referred to all technologies that deal with the retrieval, the collection, the processing, the storage, dissemination, the presentation of the data. In this research, the thing that has been discussed is about the use of the translation strategy with watching the news. And in here, I choose two broadcast popular news broadcasts. The first one is Metro TV News broadcast from Indonesia and CNN News from US, which explain the material in English with the subtitle and no subtitle. In here, Metro TV used to be with no subtitle, but CNN News use with subtitle in Bahasa Indonesia or Indonesian language. I found some problem when I identified when we did research. The first one is the student feel that news broadcasting are boring or not interesting for them because the student prefer to watch the movies or dramas like Hollywood movies and romantic movies and etc. And then the last is the pronunciation that delivered by the presenter on news broadcasting is too fast. Students avoid watching the news broadcast on television because they feel that the news broadcasting are too boring. They believe that the drama like Hollywood drama, romantic dramas are more profitable for them to learn about the English to enrich their vocabulary. Despite the fact, actually, the translation strategy based on news broadcast is excellent for me. I think it's not only for expanding the vocabulary in English, but also expanding to enrich the knowledge in other fields. For example, when the student watching the CNN news, which explain about the weather, the two things that the student will get. The first one is about vocabulary and about the good pronunciation, and then how to talk into the public. And the second one is the student will know about the geography of the weather. Why? The limitation of this research is the 30 students of a senior high school were given the question. Actually, the certain student is randomly chosen. With the 5 people will be taken as a sample according to the average value. Why I choose the senior high school student? Because I feel the student at the high school level needs to be given an understanding of the importance of studying by watching the news, because their age is an age where there should be more emphasis on learning. In my research, there are some purposes. The first one, I hope that after the student watch the news broadcasting and then they answer the questionnaire, they will interest in learning translation through news broadcasting, and they will enriching the English vocabulary for them. So, the key terms on this research is, first one is about international news. It means that the news with the international language, especially in English. The second one is translation strategy. Some translation strategy that we will know, that we have to know, is about the form, the Harvard's model translation processes that his students are expected to grasp the words that are communicated in sequential order, like then translate the English and then into another language, especially in this case into Bahasa. The second strategy that we can use is Promida and Faber's model translation process. They, especially students, are asked to study their first language, mother tongue maybe in this section, but they also pay their close attention to the grammatical of the English structure and meaning of the word. After that, it's reassembled into the target language, actually into Bahasa. There are several steps that we can apply when the student watching the news broadcasting to enrich this vocabulary. The first one, the student have to examine the words quickly by practicing fast reading with written text first, and then analyze the result. And second one is separate the news word into 2 categories. First one is complicated terms and the words with well-known definition or words that are easy. The last is the student will rewrite all the words with and easy words in their own words. After that, the separating the words. I guess the other strategy that based on the Bakers on 2011, there are 3 strategies. Actually, the first one is transparency, that borrowing the word from English to use in the target language. That possibly because there are no words in the target language that fit for the student. The second one is calculus. It means that in the sources language, literal translation technique or along for common collocation of phrases. And the last is transposition strategies based on the Bakers. It's like without modifying the context of the sentence being translated. Changing the word classes such as verb into noun is it that makes it possible. Actually, the strategy of translation with news broadcasting also motivated the student, because I guess that the student can identify with the people and the information content with the news broadcasting. Also, broadcasting news learning is a learning medium in the form of electronic communication media nowadays, and the news announcers language helps to be neither harsh or not correct. In this case, there are some interesting things we can get from the many uses of the news broadcast as the learning tool or media UFL students doing. The first one is to prevent learners from adapting new words with negative meaning to their language. And then it's important to note that the TV programming differs from other language because in that it is more educational. The strategy of translation that used when producing this broadcasting as a learning media encourages the student to be more active in producing new English into their everyday language, which has the goal like eventually eliminating the need for dictionaries. The research methodology, I use quantitative research, that the design of this research by using experimental method. I mean that the quantitative method in this research is like a systematic scientific investigation with the student of the facts and phenomena, as well as the capacity of their attention. The goal of this research, I hope to create the new strategy of learning translation that I believe will be effective one and can see the two things at the same time. When the pandemic still happens until now, I do the research by online. Like I give the link by Google Form and then share to the student, and also the link to watch the broadcasting news by CNN and Metro TV on YouTube links. And then after that, the students will write the word that they feel difficult and then compare with the easy word that they have known before. The instrument of the research, like I said before, is the videos of broadcasting and the questionnaire that's sent by Google Form. The object of the research is 3 random high school students, and the result and discussions after doing some experimental treatment, and I got some problems. Like first one is pronunciation that is too quick. The second one is there's no running text. The students said that when watching the Metro TV are too difficult because there is no running text on Metro TV. Expect that the CNN News has the running text. They said that when the presenter on Metro TV News delivered the news, the student felt that the pronunciation was too fast, and they found some difficult words to understand what the news presenter mean and what the words the news presenter said. The other fact when they watch the Metro TV News is the fact that not only CNN and Metro TV, but other news broadcasting do not use running text, which contain a translation into Indonesian. And obviously, this is very difficult for students to understand the new words or even to enrich the knowledge in English. After all research we have done, I get the conclusion. The first one is when we learn the news broadcasting, it can be the one of effective way to enrich the students' knowledge. And then second one is the student can learn real English words because when watch the broadcasting news is interesting. If the teacher will give some strategies that easy for the students to follow, like maybe the teacher can have seen the broadcasting first and then ask the student to watch the movie to know broadcasting, and they can be seen and heard again if they are replayed. And it's important to note that the TV programming like broadcasting news is the effective one. I think that's all for my explanation and my understanding about news broadcasting strategies when the learning translation. I hope my explanation will give you some knowledge to enrich your vocabulary. I'm sorry for some mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the first speaker, Istiana Deni Putri from University of Bengkulu, has explains about the strategy of translations in new broadcast television for the students. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to specify the times, it's better to continue the second speaker. For the second speakers will be delivered by Evi Sastra from University of Bengkulu. The entitle of her article, the character's value found in English storybooks, The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. What about Miss Evi Sastra? I think he doesn't join yet in this room.
What about
hello?
Belum ada nampak wifi-nya.
She doesn't join yet. And we continue the next speaker will be delivered by Desi Putriana, also from University of Bengkulu. The title of her article, The Student Perception on Writing Project of Short Story During COVID-19 Pandemic. We will display the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Desi Putriana from University of Bengkulu. Thank you for Apatuli University and COROLLA that give me a chance to participate in this conference. It's my honor to be here with expert people like Professor Taib Ilyas, Professor Muhammad J. Samama, Professor Syed Ismail, Professor Dr. Michelle Naturi, Professor Dr. Burhan Oscar, and Dr. Jordan Jepenov, and also the other participants. In this opportunity, I will deliver my research article with the title Teachers' Knowledge About Higher Thinking Skill and its Implementation in Online Teaching. To begin with introduction, higher order thinking skill or HOTS is considered as an important skill that every student has to master. HOTS does not only allow students to understand what they learn, but also help to use information and gain experience with their own knowledge. And teachers who have the role to transmit knowledge to the student are responsible to develop HOTS in their classes. The teacher need to update the knowledge of implementation HOTS in their teaching, especially in online teaching. And online classroom is the object of this research, constructing a concept of higher order thinking in teaching. Is a challenging job, and understanding HOTS is a significant job that the learner must master. As the research study, the researcher focus on what extent teachers know about HOTS and how they implement their knowledge of HOTS in online teaching. And the objective of the study is to look into teacher knowledge of HOTS and how they use it in online teaching. So by conducting this research, the researcher wants to know to what extent teacher know about HOTS and how they implement their knowledge of HOTS in online teaching. Why in online teaching? Because since the COVID-19 pandemic, the learning and teaching process, especially in Indonesia, implemented through online from home. Let's move to the literature review. The researcher take the opinion from Paul and Older 2003 to support the study. They explain that Hegel-Older thinking skill is the art of analyzing and evaluating thinking. The definition of Hegel-Older thinking states by the expert mostly contain with a similar idea that is connected to human cognitive skill. Therefore, a summary of the definition is offered. Hegel-Older thinking skill is the ability of thinking that involves the step of adjusting a problem with one's background knowledge or experience, constructing argument and make sure that argument are logic and produce hypothesis to decide what she or he is going to say, believe, or do. And Fogarty 2009, as cited in Ying 2015, they bring the concept of effective HOTS implementation for the teaching, and they explain the concept of HOTS implementation that teachers should consider. For example, teacher for thinking. Teacher for thinking is related with setting the classroom climate. In this dimension, the teacher should be able to create a rich and encouraging classroom environment that is conducive to the student. And the second one is teaching of thinking. Teaching of thinking related with the instructing HOTS skill. In this dimension, the teacher should be able to ask HOTS questions and to structure challenging HOTS tasks and activity that motivate the student to use their knowledge to gain new language. And the third is teaching with thinking. This is related with structuring classroom interaction. In this dimension, the teacher should be able to give students ample time to think and prefer response to questions, encourage them to exchange thoughts with others and to be heavily involved in a dialogue or discussion. And the last is teaching about thinking. This is related with the helping students to reflect metacognitively. And in this dimension, the teacher should be able to guide students to become conscious of their thinking processes and have the ability to control and regulate them. And we continue to the research method. The study is qualitative, with a case study as the research method. The case study was chosen as the research design because it may thoroughly explore a case by gathering evidence from multiple sources. This research collected the data from deep interviews followed by observation. In deep interview is a type of interview with researchers used to obtain information in order to achieve a full understanding of interviewee's point of view or situation. And in this study, 3 English teachers are selected to be participants by using purposive sampling. The teacher were from SNAP school, but teach different grades. We jump to finding and discussion. The assessment of teachers' understanding of thoughts revealed that each question elicited varied responses from the teachers. All teachers explained the various strategies that they use to do in thoughts implementation in online teaching. The first participant and the second participant employ a similar method, namely presenting unfamiliar term by synonym, and the third participant employ a different method. However, it is an effective for online instruction. And the result of the data analysis show that the teacher's knowledge of thoughts is still minimal. They did not understand what is thought conceptually, and one of them interpreted thoughts as learning method, not the ability to think. From the teacher answer, it can be concluded that the teacher agreed to state that thoughts is important because using thought is learning process, challenging students to work maximally using their thinking ability. And the conclusion, according to preceding discussion of teaching understanding of thoughts and its application in online teaching, it can be said that teacher knowledge of thought is still limited and has to be expanded. And the result of the thoughts implementation in online teaching, on the other hand, reveal that the teacher did a good job with the application of thoughts implementation in teaching, and they were able to incorporate the thought concept into their teaching. However, not all of the elements of the thoughts are covered. Okay, thank you. Attention. I hope this will be useful, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, thank you very much for the second speaker today from Desi Putriana, also from University of Bengkulu. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been two speakers today has explained their articles. Now we come to the question and answer sessions. Probably from audience, you may direct questions. Please, you proposed 3 questions. Yeah. Or you may write your questions in chat platform, yeah?
Risiko di mana? Jadi harus no question. If no question, we will continue here. Kalau ada question, kita continue aja.
Apparently, oh yeah. Yeah, there is a question from Hapni Hapsa. The question is for the second speaker, yeah? How do you explain about teaching? How do you explain about metacognitive? Yeah, proposed to Mem Desi Putriana.
Are you there?
Ma'am Desi?
Banyak di sini nggak ada.
No, yeah, there is no.
Tidak di sini.
Or Ma'am Istiana, Denny?
Oh, ini di
Would like to respond?
Kalau Rahman tanya sama member.
No. Okay. If there are no questions from participants or audience, we may continue to the next speaker today, which will be delivered by Utari Dwi Sartika from University of Bengkulu. The title is Improving Student Speaking Ability in Describing Local Tourism's Object Through Project-Based Learning Techniques.
Oke, taruh video sir.
We play the video.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So in this next episode, I would like to present my topic in the first UPP and COROLLA International Conference. My topic is entitled Improving Students' Speaking Ability in Describing Local Tourism Objects Through Project-Based Learning Technique. My name is Utari Setika. I'm from University of Bengkulu. Well, the abstract of this research is the aim of this research is to find out how does project-based learning technique improve the student speaking ability. In SMKN 1 Kota Bengkulu, the students still have low motivation, especially in speaking activities. They do not understand many aspects in speaking English because the teacher uses monotonous activities and need more interesting strategy in English class. This research applied classroom excellence research or CAR method. The respondent of this research were the 10th grade students of the tourism department, especially in 10 PGP2 class of SMKN 1 Kota Bengkulu that consists of 26 students. And we will explain the part of this research one by one later. And then the contents of this research is, the first is introduction, and then the second is the research methodology, and the third is the result and discussion, and the fourth is the conclusion. Well, introduction. Speaking is one of skills that is learned by students in all levels of education. As Baim stated, that speaking is an oral communication, a two-way process between the speaker and the listeners, which involves both productive skills of speaking and then the receptive skills of understanding, or we can imply that as listening with understanding. It means that in mastering a speaking skill, the students should master complicated skills. Well, the students not only understand their partners while speaking is happening, but they also produce sounds to respond the partner's meaning while communication is happening. It is a big challenge for the students to master speaking English. However, in a real practice of teaching and learning speaking in English for foreign language classroom, or E-level classroom, English teachers and the students still have problems in learning activities, media, and a basic skill of English speaking itself. The most problem happen to the students in speaking activities are the students cannot speak English fluently. They have low learning motivation and self-confidence, and then their social situation does not support. And then they have the lack of speaking instruction from the teacher. So to respond these problems, the researcher found that project-based learning technique is a solution to overcome the student speaking problems. The researcher believes that this technique can help the 10th grade students of the tourism department of SMKN 1 Kota Bengkulu who had problems in speaking ability. because the formula of authentic activities can encourage students to speak English fluently and support them to make daily conversation as well as doing speaking performance, because PBL technique offers an opportunity for the students to use the language in a relatively natural context and participate in meaningful activities which require authentic use of speaking English. By applying this teaching technique, the students can share their experience and get positive interaction in their small group for doing this project. So the objective of this research is to implement project-based learning technique to improve the students' speaking ability in describing local tourism objects at the 10th grade students of Tourism Department of SMKN 1 Kota Bengkulu. And then we come to the next section is about the research methodology. So the researcher will apply classroom action research or CAR method. In this research, the researcher will use 5 instruments to collect data. The instruments are speaking test, observation checklist, and then interview, and then field notes, and then the observation. Well, the first procedure of this research, the researcher will do the conducting pre-assessment task. In pre-assessment task, the researcher will give a task to the students in form of the speaking task, and then especially describing local tourism object by using instrument which has been prepared by the researcher. Then the researcher will give some cycles of exchange from the researcher by using a project-based learning technique. And then the researcher will give students action for the improvement. Then the researcher will give some cycles to students in order to solve their problems and make significant improvement in giving action by using CAR. It consists of planning, implication of action, observation, and also reflection. It is the theory by Chemist and Taggart in 2014. In collecting the data, the researcher will differentiate between qualitative and quantitative data. The qualitative data will be taken from some instruments, namely observation checklist, field notes, and in the interview. And then for the quantitative data, the researcher will use the speaking test. In analyzing the data, the researcher will use interactive model of the data analysis proposed by Miles and Huberman in 1994. The data analysis consists of 3 main components. Those are data reduction, data display, and drawing and verifying conclusion. And then the indicator of the student success is when 75% students have higher percentage and get actively involved in speaking ability of describing local tourism objects. And then we come to the next section. It is about the result and discussion. Well, the process of collecting the data consists of 4 sets of procedures, namely pre-assessment task, cycle 1, and the cycle 2. This part describes the student's improvement quantitatively and qualitatively during the action in pre-assessment, cycle 1, and then the cycle 2. And then the researcher got the student's improvement in speaking ability in describing local tourism object by using project-based learning technique that is interpreted in the chart 1. So the chart 1 shows that actions given to the students from cycle 1 until the cycle 2 affected the students very much in mastering speaking ability in describing local tourism objects. In pre-assessment task, there were no students included into excellent category. 14 students were included moderate category, and then 6 students were included into poor category, and then 2 students were included into very poor category. In this stage, there was no students included into excellent category. But after the students got actions in cycle 1 in 3 meetings, the condition improved. There were 7 students. There were 7 students included into good category, and then 11 students included into moderate category, and 23% were included into poor category. And then there were students who were included very poor category, and then in this stage there was 3 students included into excellent category. Well, to clear number of the students based on their category, we can see in the following table. So in the pre-assessment stage, there was like number of the students who got excellent and good categories. Therefore, they needed serious action for 3 cycles for improvement. After getting cycles, the number of the students who got excellent and good categories were increased significantly from 1 cycle to another cycle. And then finally, at the cycle 2, the students could reach the research target quantitatively and qualitatively. It means that the students have had better understanding of speaking ability in describing local tourism objects by using project-based learning technique. And then the students' improvement could be calculated by reducing students' average score in cycle 2 and the students' average score in pre-assessment task as the following calculation. So, yeah. It was clear that the students made 11.58 of improvement after getting actions in 3 cycles by using project-based learning technique. And then we come to the conclusion. So the results showed that project-based learning technique could improve the students' speaking ability in describing local tourism objects at the 10th grade students of SMKN 1 Kota Bengkulu. The improvement was showed by the students' average score in pre-assessment tasks in 63 and 0.65 that included into moderate category, and average score in cycle 2 test was 75.23 that included into good category. And then based on the interview from the students, they stated that they feel enjoyed during the teaching and learning process of the speaking ability by using project-based learning technique. Okay, that's all about my presentation about improving student speaking ability in describing local tourism objects. Thanks for your nice attention, and we come to the next session. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ma'am Utari Dwi Sartika. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we also give you opportunity to ask the questions to Ms. Utari Dwi Sartika. Yeah, you may ask the questions in column chat. There is no. Ma'am Utari, may I ask you a questions? Hello? Hello, Ma'am Utari? Can you listen my voice?
Follow the business.
It seems that Ma'am Utari could not listen, couldn't hear the voice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the next. The next speaker will be delivered by Stephanie Likasari Tarigan. The title of her article is English Indonesian Translations of the idiomatic expression in Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dead Man's Chest movie script. live or
Video.
video?
Video.
Okay, we are going to display the video for this article.
Oke, good morning Komite the Universitas Petulai and COROLLA International Conference. My name is Stephanie Likasari Tarigan. I will explain my article with the title is English Indonesian Translation of Idiomatic Expression in Pirates of the Caribbean, the Deadman Chess Movie Script. I'm from University of Bengkulu. And then abstract. My article, this abstract is this observation is a deepening of the interpretation of how to respond or praise the parable in the play with the title of the play is Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dead Man Chess, explaining the elements of parable contained in the drama scenario and the stage performed by a dubber in interpreting the parable itself. The materials put together in this observation are sorted or using descriptive qualitative methods are created in Charles Howe and Mona Baker's work that argues with future grammar. The phrase is sorted and incorporated into the available elements, namely in the early stages of watching the real drama. The next stage is to have a drama in the form of soft copy and a trusted site that is Walt Disney. The next stage is pouring in the form of Indonesian language works according to the soft copy. The next step to understand the work of Indonesian and English so that the parable can be understood. And the last step is to see and sort out which element the parable is in, that we can deduce about changing a sentence but not losing its meaning is when we know about the essence of the sentence. The step in changing the sentence but not eliminating its meaning is to read all the new sentences. We can determine or find the meaning, and for us to know more about the parable, we make as our daily language habits. And then keywords, my article is parables, dubbing drama, and drama. Okay, and then introduction. According Robinul Hasan, 2016, English Indonesian translation of idiomatic expression in Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dead Man's Chase movie script is at the end of parable response. A response that includes six varieties, namely changes, initial, narrowing, values of discourse, particle of English feeling, and sophisticated times at this time that relates to carrying out parables through the understanding of similar form of dubbing that is tasked with parables that have different understanding, interpretation by changing different forms but similar endings, and pacing understanding by accident. And then research methodology. This variety of observation is qualitative or based on quality. The recent observation explains the event in the observation sentences themselves, or that can be called estimating the event. Creswell, 1994, in his work Observation Based on Quality is to explain in detail, therefore an enthusiastic observation with stages or steps to explore something related to sentences or object. Not only that, Maxwell, 1996, has the opinion that quality-based or qualitative observation include the explanation of sentences or paragraphs rather than scores. And then findings. After conducting the study, the authors found the difference in the previous article with the same title, English Indonesian translation of idiomatic expression in Pirates of the Caribbean. The Dead Man's Chest movie scripts. Robinho Hassan in previous study only discussed the elements of parables found in the drama scenario and the ordinances of how an interpreter to interpret the conversation scenario. This research wants to go deeper into the elements and tips to speed up the process of dubbing by watching the pirate drama live. In this section, it describes the sorting of material distinguished by the double variety. The variety of which is the element of disclosure of variables and a quick way to interpret the idiomatic parable disclosure of the Pirates of the Caribbean in the scenario of the person who has been called. And discussion, the result of the above parable elements can be determined in the drama scenario, having 6 elements of parables. According to predetermined elements, the 6 elements are, according to Charles Foucault, in future grammar, the scope of this element is in the pirated drama scenario. The material to be used has been described in the previous theory that is related to things that have happened when we find a sentence that is still related to the previous sentence that is a backup, even though the sentence doesn't follow the rules. The following appendix to a similar sentence, the main envelopes his feelings. When we hear that sentences doesn't comply with the rules of the sentence, by following Charles Foucault theory on the 6 element, we can find in that sentence that is they. And then the conclusion at this stage. This observation arrives at the end of the core stage of the problem and the meaning of the problem. Pirates explain the idiomatic parables elements contained in the screenplay of the drama Pirates of the Caribbean. The dead man's chase and tactics in interpreting the dialogue attached by an observation. There are 6 elements presented in the screenplay of Pirates of the Caribbean. The dead man's chest, the elements are backup, clear initial, clues, discourse pictures, English references, and youth communication. The most dominant element is English reference. And the suggestion for English teacher, translation can be a new way for teacher in teaching English, so that the teacher should consider to implement such idioms which will improve the students translating is any subject, and for this case in in translating idiom. As in the study, the researchers gave a view how to implement in the right way. And then for future research, this researcher to be completed by the future researcher due to gain the more positive result or to ensure that learning translation using idiom has really giving the effect on student. They can combine idioms with other skills or sub-skills as research variables. And I think that's all my presentation, my article. Thank you for the attention. Good morning.
Okay, by the way, thanks for Ma'am Stephanie Likasari Tarigan for her presentation. Actually, that was good presentation. And her presentation is about English Indonesian translation of idiomatic expression in Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dutman's Chess script, by the way. So in her presentation before, I got some point. That the point is about the 6 elements in the idiomatic expression, by the way. So the elements are backup, clear, initial, clues, discourse, figures, and so on. Then the most dominant elements on the script of Pirates of the Caribbean movie is about English references. Okay, we next to the next presenter. The next presenter will be delivered by Ma'am Henny or Miss Henny, Miss Herianti Novitasari. So Miss Herianti Novitasari cannot deliver her presentation directly, so I would like to share the video about her presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I would like to present my PPT for COROLLA International Conference. And the theme is Future Education in the World Field in Science, Humanities, Social, Agriculture, or Economic, Law, and Technology Perspective. And my title is about the technique in the translation of English into Indonesian itself by Herianti Novitasari. So there are 4 outlines of my PPT. The first one is about introduction, and then methodology. Next is about result and discussion, and the last one is about conclusion. The first one is about introduction. So translation is a process of transferring text message from the source language of Excel into the target language or TICA. The practical purposes of a translation is to have the reader of the target language text understand the message intended by the author of the original source language text. One of the use of translation that is often found is in the abstract of a scientific paper. Abstract writing is very important in a scientific work because abstract is useful to attract readers' interest in the full content of scientific writing. An abstract is the last thing written in a paper, but the first thing people will read when they want to get a quick overview of the whole paper. The abstract helps readers who may be interested in the paper quickly decide whether the article is relevant to the purpose and whether they need to read the entire paper. In some papers, abstracts were found that use 2 languages, English as the source language and Indonesian as the target language. University students are required to write their thesis or dissertation abstract in 2 languages, namely Indonesian and English. The use of 2 languages in this abstract is expected to help Indonesian readers whose mother tongue is not English to better understand the content of the text. Basically, in translating abstract words from English to Indonesian and Indonesian to English, the translator must be put at both in terms of structure and the choice of translation technique. The translation technique is the result of the choice to be used by a translator. Its validity will depend on various questions related to context, purpose of translation, audience expectation, and others. And based on Molina and Albert 2002, translation techniques have several characteristics. The first one is translation technique affect the translation result. Classified based on comparison with the original, affect the micro units of the text, and basically discursive. Molina and Albert 2002 classify translation technique based on the following criteria. To isolate technical concept and other related meanings. Focus only on procedures that characterize text translation and not those related to language comparison. To defend the idea that translation techniques are functional. The translation always depends on the situation in the text and the context and the method of translation that has been chosen. To retain the most commonly used terms associated with the terminology, and last is formulate a new technique to explain a new mechanism that has never been described. So, the translation technique described by Molina and Albert 2002 are adaptation, amplification, borrowing, curfew, compensation, description, discursive creation, established equivalent, generalization, linguistic amplification, linguistic compression, literal translation, modulation, particularization, reduction, substitution, transposition, and correction. And now we move to the second outline about methodology. The research method used in this study is a qualitative method. The research design used is a descriptive research. Data taken from 6 abstract R3 educational journals. There are Journal of Mathematics Education, Journal of the Association of Word Arabic in English, and Jurnal Ilmu Pendidikan dan Ilmu Sosial or JIPE. The abstract use English as the source language, while the other 3 are translation using Indonesian as the language. The data source comes from a journal entitled The Correlation Between Student Self-Confidence and Speaking Ability at 10th Grade Student Osman Art and Brain Vacancy in Academic Year 2018-2019. Improving mathematical problem-solving ability and self-confidence of high school students through conceptual learning models. And the last data source comes from the correlation between self-confidence and student performance of AMIC global analysis. The data collection method in this research is the observation method. And the third outline is about result and discussion. This is the table for translation technique, and this is the figure for the translation technique. From the table above, we can see that the translation technique found in this research are divided into 5 types. The 5 types are transposition with 14 occurrences or 51.85%, amplification with 4 occurrences or 14.82%, borrowing also have 4 occurrences or 14.82%, reduction with 3 occurrences or 11.11%, and the last is established equivalence with 2 occurrences or 7.40%. From the data that has been obtained, it is known that the most frequently used translation technique is transposition with 14 frequencies or 51.85%, while the less used translation technique is established equivalence with a total of true frequencies of 7.40%. So, the last is about conclusion. In a reading journal article, people will first read the abstract of the journal article. The importance of an abstract of a journal article makes many people translate the abstract from the source language into the target language. The translation that occurs is expected to be able to produce an equivalent text. Thus, readers can understand and determine whether they need to read the document in its entirety. The study focuses on analyzing the use of translation techniques on 6 abstract from 3 editorial groups. After analysis, it was found that there are 5 translation techniques used in study. They are transposition, amplification, borrowing, reduction, and established equivalence. The technique not often used in translating abstract in this research is transposition translation technique with 14 data or 51.85%. Meanwhile, less commonly used translation technique in this study is established equivalence with 2 data or 7.40%. So that's all from my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for Ma'am Herianti Navitasari from Bengkulu University. That her article actually is really good. And before she talked about the technique in the translation of English into Indonesian abstract. So I got the conclusion about her presentation. That on her presentation, I got 5 techniques actually that she used on translation of English into Indonesian in abstract writing. So the first technique was transposition. The second is amplification. The third, borrowing. The fourth, reduction. And the last one is established equivalence. Actually, that's 5 techniques is the most used on her research. And we are in the last presenter for this session. Actually, before we continue to another presenter, I would like to over all of the participants here to ask a question about the presentation which have been delivered before. Is there anyone here have a question? Or if we don't have any question, we continue to next presentation. No question. And by the way, after this, we come to Miss Indri Febriana for her video. Actually, because she has something, so she cannot deliver the paper directly. No question? Okay, so we continue to the next presentation. The presentation will be shared on the display with Indri Febriana as the presenter here. The material is talk about students' perception towards phonetic notation in English language learning. So the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So today I would like to present about my research with the title is The Students' Perceptions Toward the Phonetic Notations in English Foreign Language Learning. This research will include the introductions, the literature review, the method, the result and discussions, and the last is the conclusions. So the first, we will come to the introductions of the study. The background of the study, actually, the study began with the pronunciations in a communications, which the pronunciation itself is an act of manner of the pronunciating words, utterance of speech, or the way how to pronounce the word correctly by using phonetic symbol. Pronunciation itself is a foundation to gain a full communicative competence. It is according to Kenworthy. And then actually in pronunciation, there are some factors that will influence the pronunciation itself. The first, one of the factors that affecting the pronunciations is the phonetic notations. And the phonetic notations itself, it is defined as the use of the special written symbol refers to the sound or the sound features of one or several languages. And phonetic notation itself is really useful in pronunciations because phonetic notations can increase the student pronunciation's ability in English language foreign learning. Actually, the use phonetic notation in pronunciation will have a benefit impact towards the student's ability in pronunciations. But the reality is, the students still confuse how to use the phonetic notations to increase their pronunciations, and they prefer to know the word sound by using Google or other applications. So based on the phenomena, the researcher interested to investigate the student perceptions toward phonetic notations in English language learning. So the research questions of the study is how is the students' perceptions toward the phonetic notations in English foreign language learning? And we come to the related theory. The first is theory about perceptions. We come to the definitions of perceptions itself. Actually, pronunciation is the process by which we receive and also interpret the information from the world around us. And pronunciation itself is defined into two kinds. According to Aswar, if the average of the student perceptions is under 23%, so it will belongs to positive perceptions. But if the average of the student perceptions is below 23%, it means that the perceptions will belong to the negative perceptions. And we come to the English foreign language learning. Actually, English pronunciation learning, in English pronunciation learning, phonetic instructions is needed by the student to increase the student pronunciation's ability. So that's why in English foreign language learning, pronunciation teaching will really need it to increase the student's pronunciation's ability. And then the third is about the phonetic notations. As I said before, that phonetic notations is the use of special written symbol to refer the sounds or the sound features of one or several languages. And phonetic notation itself has several advantages in English foreign language learning. The first advantage is about the systematicity. If we pronounce a word by using the phonetic notations. And second advantage is the awareness raising. And the third is about the visual support and also the visualness. That's why the student can know how is the pronunciations of the word by using the symbol. And then the fourth factors is about the autonomous learning. Okay, we come to the research method of this research. Actually, this research is conducted in quantitative with descriptive design, and the populations of this study is all students in the 5th and also 7th semester of EI in Europe, because they have learned pronunciation practice and also speaking 1 through 4. And then the sample of the study is the student in 5th and also 7th semester student. And in here, the researcher took all students in 7th semester and all students in 5th semester. So that's why the researcher will use total sampling, because all of the students have learned pronunciation practice and also phonology. And then technique for the collecting data. In here, the researcher used a questionnaire, exactly close-ended questionnaire, to take the data to know the student perceptions toward the phonetic notations in English foreign language learning. And to analyze the data, in here, the researcher first will make a tabulating and then make a percentage and interpret the result. Okay, the result of the study is based on the data that have been collected and also have been analyzed. In here, the researcher found that students have a positive perceptions toward advantage, familiarity, and also the usefulness of phonetic notations, but students have negative perceptions toward the ease of the phonetic notations itself. So that's all my explanations about my research. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you for Miss Indri Febriana. Are you there, Miss Indri Febriana? Actually, Miss Indri Febriana, before talk about the students' perception regarding phonetic notation in English language learning. Okay. Actually, pronunciation is the one subject that I really loved, and on her result before, Miss Indri says that that phonetic notation is really useful for student foreign language, by the way. Then phonetic notation is about you use the symbol of the pronunciation itself and you learn how to pronounce the word actually. Is that true, Miss Indri?
Moderator.
Yes, okay, of course. So before we continue to the next presenter, I would like to offer again the question to the audience here. So is there any of audience here has a question for Miss Indri Febriana about her presentation? Is there anyone here? No? No again? Okay, so what about if I ask Miss Indri Febriana? Do you allow me to ask you? Do you allow me? If you can hear my voice, please just answer. Do you allow me to ask you a question? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I cannot unmute myself.
Okay, so I have opened it. So the question is just simple, actually. Here you talk about the phonetic notation, right? So
Yes.
what about if the students don't know how to read the symbol itself? Actually, even though they have taken a long semester in English department, but they still cannot read it. Then they choose like listen the music for the pronunciation. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I will answer it directly. Actually, phonetic notation itself is a guidance. So we want to be a good speaker, actually, because we are not a foreigner, right? So if we want to be a good speaker, we need to know the guidance. So phonetic notation will be your guidance. Better for you to know how to read the symbol itself, because we have learned how to read the symbols. Better for us to practice every word that we found. If we found new word, better to know how to pronounce the word by using what is English dictionary. Because in English dictionary there is a phonetic notations how to pronounce that word.
Okay.
And then if you got difficulties, better for us to know the words pronunciations by using other applications. So other applications like the real practice how to pronounce the word, and phonetic notation become your guidance.
Okay, thank you, Miss Inri. That was very, very clear answer, actually. So we next presentation. The next presentation will be delivered by Rida Marleni. That the title of her article is English Teachers Verbal Instruction, a case study at junior high school in Bengkulu town. So actually, we just shared the video and happy watching.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Rida Marleni. I am from University of Bengkulu. Today, I would like to present my research. The title is English Teacher Verbal Instructions, a case study at a junior high school in Bengkulu town. Here is the content of my slides. The first one is introductions, and then objective, and then literature review, this methodology, result and discussion, and the last one is conclusions. Okay, we go on to introductions. It's explain about the background of my research. We know that according to Nunan in 1995, to give instruction to the student is probably the most common classroom function of a teacher. The particular area of concern of the amounts of time the teacher talks are instructions and explanation they provide. Teachers spend a lot of time in the classroom to give instruction to their students. That is why it is important for the teachers to use the target language in giving instruction. But in the really fact, the teacher of English in Bengkulu still use first language in giving the instructions. It is according to the observation had been done before the research. The researcher asked some students in some schools. Generally, they said that their English teacher still use non-English languages in the English classes. And then from the researcher experience during PPL or praktik pengalaman lapangan, some English teachers didn't use English as much as Indonesian language in English classes because the student usually didn't understand the instructions. Meanwhile, ideally, in a language class, the target language must be used as a dominant language. Okay, now we go on to the objective of this research. The first one is the language used by the objective of this research were to identify One, the language used by the English teacher in giving verbal instruction to the students, and then to identify the proportion of form in verbal instruction in English used by English teachers. And then the last one is to identify the proportion of form in verbal instruction in English used by English teachers. Okay, now we go on to literature review. The first one, we talk about teacher's talks. Teacher's talks is a special language the teachers use when addressing second language learner in the classroom. It is according to Ellis in 1998. And then the second one, we talk about instructions. Instruction is directions that are given to introduce a learning task. Instruction is divided into two. They are verbal instruction and non-verbal instruction. But in this research, we will talk about the verbal instruction. Okay, now teacher sentence forms in giving verbal instruction. It is 3 teacher sentence form in giving verbal instructions. They are imperative, declarative, and interrogative. And then in this research, we will also identify the kind of teacher language in English classroom. We divide it into 2. There are English as a target language and then other languages. Okay, now we go on to methodology. This research use the quantitative descriptive methods. And then the population of this research is English teacher at a school in Bengkulu town. The sample is 4 English teacher who taught at first and second grades. And then data collection techniques, we use observations, checklists, and recordings. And data analysis techniques, it use data arrangements and then data percentage of this research. Okay, we go on to result and discussions. The proportion of English instructions applied by the English teacher in giving the instructions, it is divided into 3 forms: declarative form, interrogative form, and imperative form. In declarative form, there are 8.16%, and then interrogative form, it is about 23.19%, and imperative form, it is about 68.65% in English instructions. So the highest proportion of English instructions applied by the English teacher in giving the instruction is in imperative forms. Now we go on to the proportion of other languages instructions applied by the English teacher in giving the instruction. In this research, the other language in here, it means Indonesian language, because teachers use Indonesian language as a mother tongue. They are divided into 3. They are declarative form, interrogative form, and imperative form. For declarative form, it is 5.81%, and then integrative form, it is 15.51%, and the imperative form, it is 78.68%. So the proportion of other language instruction applied by the English teachers in giving the instructions is the highest in imperative form. Okay, now we go on to the discussion and the results. There was a little differences between the using of English and Indonesian language. So differences only just about 19.8%. And then both of 2 languages, Indonesian and English, the imperative form was the most frequency form of instructions used by the teacher in the English classroom. Conclusions: there were 2 main languages of instruction form. They were English and Indonesian language. English was the dominant language used by the teacher in giving the instructions, but the differences between the use of English and Indonesian language was a few, just about 19.8%. It was caused by the repetition instruction from the teacher given in Indonesian. Well, the researcher found that the answer of teacher question or instruction were answered by the student in English if the teachers use English too. In giving the instruction, the teacher used the imperative form as the dominant form. The student usually understand this form because it was stated in a short form, simple vocabulary, and sentence structures. I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for the attention.
Okay, thanks for Ma'am Rida Marleni has delivered the article talk about English teachers verbal instruction. So on her article before that, she explained about how to deliver the material in English class, by the way. So on her article, she stated before that still of our teacher still deliver the instruction by using Indonesian language while they were teaching English. So on her article also, he delivered that the imperative instruction is the mostly used, by the way, because it's easy to understand by the student and it easier to caught to catch the material what the teacher delivered. So we come to the next presentation. The next presentation will be delivered by Sri Rahayu Putri. That the title was an analysis of taboo words in Fast and Furious Series 1 movie. So actually, I will share the video about this presentation. Okay, please wait for the video. Okay. Actually, we have something. We have actually this room can't play the video of Miss Sri Rahayu because it the resolution of the video is too high, so it will may share in the next presentation. So now we move to another presentation that the presenter will be delivered by Tania Shafutri. That the article is talk about an analysis of content validity in English midterm examination test item 6th grade at elementary school IT Fatma Kenanga, Kota Bengkulu. So I will share the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Tanisha Putri, and now I will explain my research under the title An Analysis of Content Validity in English Midterm Examination Test Items at 6th grade at SD IT Fatma Kenanga, Kota Bengkulu. Okay, for the first, I will explain about the background of the study. Like we know, the education is really important for us and the others. So when we do the education, we need the evaluation to measure if we have achieved the goals or objective of the curriculum or not. So when we do the evaluation, we need the test, because the test is the popular item that we use to measure how we achieved the objective or not. And then in the text, there are like the validity, reliability, and also the practicality. In here, in the validity, there is the content validity that will be the focus of this research for this time. In the content validity, it is about how the each items of the test can fulfill or can suitable or suitable with the indicator in the syllabus. And next is the research question. There are two research questions. The first is how is appropriate the English midterm examination items with the indicators of the syllabus at the 6th grade in SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu. And the second is how is the quality of content validity of English midterm examination items that met by English teacher in 6th grade at SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu. Next is chapter 2, literature review. The first is test item analysis. According to Sujono, test item analysis is the analysis of variables of every item to gather input to develop adjustments, upgrades, and modification of the assessment task. So the test item analysis is when we analyze each item in the test. And then the characteristic of good tests, there are three. The first is validity. As we know, the test can be valid if they have can be used for the several times and still produce the same result. And then also if the test suitable with the syllabus or the curriculum. And then reliability, it means the test can be reliable if fulfill the specific criteria. And practicality, it means when we do the evaluation for our test, we have to consider about the practicality. And there are material, syllabus, and the curriculum that are related with my research. The first is materials. Materials are crucial components of the teacher learning process which should be understood by the teacher and handed on to the learners. And syllabus is a statement of what will be learned in a language course or in what a sequence it will be studied. It is according to Widyastuti et al. 2021. And then curriculum could be seen as a tool for teaching certain education aims and objective. Okay, next is previous studies. There are four previous studies. The first is Sugianto 2017 and entitled Validity and Reliability of English Summative Test for Senior High School. And then the second is Setya Budi et al. 2019 entitled An Analysis of Validity and Reliability of a Teacher's Math Test Case Study at 11th grade of SMA and 6 Bengkulu. And Furwana Day 2019 entitled Validity and Reliability of Teacher Math English Summative Test at 2nd grade of Vocational High School 2 Palopo. And Rianto 2018 entitled The Validity Analysis of Reading Test Items on National Standard School Final Examination for 12th grade of MAN 1 Semarang. So there are the four previous studies that are related of the validity and the reliability. The similarity with my research, we try to conduct the data about the validity, but the differences is if the previous studies about validity and reliability, however, I just make the limitation in the content validity. And then the previous studies, most of the previous study use the quantitative, however, I use the qualitative descriptive for the research design. Okay, next, I will give the reason why I want to try to do this research. For the first, content validity is really important in the task because it is to know about the good or not the research. We have to know about the content validity to know about it. And then when I did the pre-research in the SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu, when I interviewed the teacher, I asked the teacher about the test item in midterms examination. She said if she used the previous examination, midterm examination, to make the new one. So I think sometimes if the teacher do that, sometimes they do not consider about the indicator in the syllabus when they make the examination, especially in midterm. Okay, next is about the chapter 3 research method. Research design. This research used a qualitative method, especially descriptive qualitative, because I want to explain the data or the result of this research
descriptively or narratively because it is about the content validity. And then next is subject of the research. The subject of this study was an English midterm test instrument created by a teacher for SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu, 6th grade pupils or students. And source of the data, I will take the data. I took the data from the English midterm examination paper created by an English teacher at 6th grade in SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu. And the second is an English teacher devised a syllabus at 6th grade in SDIT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu. And for supporting my data, I will also get the data from the interview of the teacher. And then the technique of collecting the data. To collect the data, I will do I did the documentation and interview in the study. Okay. Next is procedure of the research. According to Criswell 2014, the research procedure includes the following steps. The first, identifying research problem. So before I did my research, I'm looking for the research problem that I have to address, and then reviewing the literature. It means I read some literature or some books or some sources about this research, and then the third, specifying a purpose for research. What I consider about what is the purpose or the aims of my research, and then collecting the data. I collect the data from the teachers when I got the midterm examination at 6th grade, and after that, I will I will analyze it with the syllabus, and then evaluating and analyzing the data. It means when I got the syllabus and also the midterm sheets or midterm papers, I check if each item of the midterm examination is suitable or not with the syllabus. And then the sixth, making report after I analyze and evaluate all of the data, I will make the narrative or the descriptive explanation of that. Yeah. And then technique of data verification. Okay, the technique of the data verification, I will use the data triangulation because I make my data is valid from the two instruments that are documentation and interview. And then data analysis, I did data collection, data reduction, data display, and the last is conclusion drawing and verification. Next is chapter 4, finding and analysis. Okay, as we know, after we explain about the research method, we move on to the finding and analysis. I got the finding in here. If the test items area, there are 6 items, number 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I got the test item area if the conformity test elements are founded on English syllabus indicators. So there are 12 items in the midterm students. So the conformity just in the 6 item, number 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which is the total frequency is 50%. And then all of these items numbers suitable with the indicator in the syllabus. However, the rest of the 6 number is not suitable with the syllabus. This is in conformity test elements. There are the item number 1, 2, 5, 6, and then the essay part A and part B. So the total frequency also 50%. Okay. Next is the indicator in syllabus that are reflected in test items. I mean, the first is menanyakan dan menceritakan pengalaman liburan dengan menggunakan kosakata yang benar. And the second is menjawab pertanyaan dari teks. So these indicators are suitable with the some test items in the midterms examination. And then the content validity. As we know, we know about the content validity if we know about the conformity and inconformity from the syllabus. So I also use the theory by Arikunto about the content validity frequency of him. So the result 50%. So if we got the 50% number of the item that are suitable with the syllabus, it means the test item on midterm examination in the level valid enough. Yeah, valid enough, 41% until 60%. So if we got the 50%, it means valid enough. So the midterms items examination of that met by the teacher, it is in the level valid enough. So the conclusion of it, we can conclude if the materials, or not materials, but the each items in the midterms examination, some of them conformity, that is 50%, and some of them inconformity, which is still 50%. So it is the indicator of the syllabus with the test items in the midterms examination at SD IT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu, especially at 6th grade. There is the conformity, which is 50%, and inconformity, which is 50%, with the indicator in the syllabus. However, for the content validity, we can conclude if the level of the midterm examination items in the level valid enough, because it is 50%. Because we can say it is valid enough when the percentage from 40% until 60% based on Arikunto's model. And the suggestion from this, okay, and the conclusion also, it is also supported by the interview from the teacher. If the teacher also say if they use the prior research. Okay, I also did the interview after I collect the data and analyze the data. I also, the data from the syllabus and the midterms examination, I also interviewed the teacher, and I got the information from the teacher if they sometimes use the prior research. It means they do not consider much about the syllabus, indicator in the syllabus and the test item. Okay, the suggestion maybe for the teachers who made the test, they can give the attention for the indicator in the syllabus with the test items that they will make. Okay, and then for the next researcher, maybe this research can be the guidelines or the support research or the support source for them. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thanks for Miss Tania Syahputri. Okay, from her presentation before that, I have caught the point of her presentation that the content about English midterm examination task items at 6th grade SD IT Fatma Kenanga Kota Bengkulu is valid enough, because according to Arikunto, that the theory says that the item will be valid if the percentage of the item from 40 to 50%. So the conclusion of her presentation that the content of English midterm examination is valid enough. So it means that the syllabus of the material that to be in examination is very, very related. So before we come to the next presentation, is there any question of audiences here? Is there any questions about the some previous presentations? Is there any questions? If we don't have, if there is no question from the audiences, I would like to invite Miss Dina. Miss Dina Mariana Mastura for delivering her presentation. Miss Dina, are you there? Miss Dina, di sana? Ya, Mbak Dina. Siap untuk presentasinya? Okay, so maybe probably Miss Dina has been preparing her presentation actually. So is there any questions? Maybe there is one of presenters will answer your question. The question may you you may write your question on chat form. Is there any questions? Miss Dina? Okay. Actually, we are almost at the end of our agenda today. So the last presentation will be delivered by Dina Mastura. Mr. Miss Dina? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Miss Dina.
I'm sorry. I saw my schedule that I was on 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not ready yet now because I did something. But I
Okay.
guess yes. Is it okay? What should I do now?
Okay, it's okay, but we have to.
I'm on the way.
Okay. We are going to be waiting for you actually. When you're ready, you just say you're ready.
Oh, okay. Is it not suitable with the schedule? I saw my schedule 40.
Yes, actually, we have some presenter here actually have an unconditional situation that they couldn't present their article, so we just moved to the schedule. By the way,
It's me the last one.
Yep.
Oh. Can you give me 10 minutes?
Okay, I will give
Find
you
a good place for me to show my.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Wait for me, please.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Femdina?
Okay.
Okay. You've been ready?
Yes.
Okay, of course. Actually, I have apologize first, actually, for the unconditionally situation about changing your time.
Okay. It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay. Okay.
Okay, okay. Are you ready to deliver your article today?
Yes.
Okay, so now the time is yours to deliver your material.
I should not share my PowerPoint. No.
It's okay if you want to share that.
Okay. Is it okay if not? I'm not share.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry because I'm not professional. But okay, my name is Dina Mariana Mastura. I'm from University of Bengkulu. I would like to present my paper that title Effectiveness of Online-Based Learning through Quizzes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. Let's start with introduction. The various negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic caused the economy in Indonesia to declines. Into the impact of a pandemic also change some behavior, include healthy living behavior, behavior using technology, behavior education, and of course the technology that previously more as a support for secondary work or even just a recreational need has turned into a primary work facility. This also has an impact of education system in Indonesia. For in education sector, teachers and students will be accustomed to interacting with online-based learning or distance learning, and this also applies to student SMA 5 Bengkulu Tengah. Online-based learning is learning process that is carried out through the use of various media. So distance learning is characterized by the difference in space between a student and teachers. This learning utility various variants, and one of the learning-based online evaluation media is using quizzes. The quizzes learning evaluation media also provides data and statistics about student performance, and you can even download this statistic in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. So teachers can also track the number of student answer. Then the use of quizzes very helps the teacher in conducting evaluation without being limited by place and unattractive appearances and the time setting that's arranged to guide student concentration. The use of quizzes media has proven to be effective in the line with several studies that have conducted, among others, by Noor 2020 that use quizzes learning evaluation media can improve student learning concentration. Another study conducted by Wihar Tanti that conclude that there were significant differences between classes using smartphone-based quizzes application compared to class using conventional models in the learning process. So the quizzes application are also able to grow critical thinking skill of students. The purpose of this research was to analyze the effectiveness of online based learning and the use of quizzes learning media in English subject during COVID-19. Research methodology, the study was quantitative descriptive study with data collection instrument using online questionnaire were given to students via a Google form. The questionnaire is a closed questionnaire using the Likert scale survey method. Such questions by alternative answer in the form of agreeing or disagree, satisfied or dissatisfied, an opinion or attitude towards a phenomenon. Then the question that have been prepared or those related to online learning carried out during COVID-19. This research was prepared in January until 2 March 2020. The population and all of the students in SMA 5, they were 60 respondents, and the samples taken by purposive sampling technique of 2 classes for science class. Finding analysis of student perception of learning English online and the use of quizzes media as a learning evaluation for shows that for average response A, 28.81%, it shows that in a good category, while the analysis of effectiveness of online learning for the response B that can be shown in some graphic for 86.8%, that's so very good. Conclusion, based on the result of the study, it was conclude that the online learning system during the COVID-19 was the most helpful medium for students to achieve learning goals, and the quizzes media was effective use in the online learning process. However, there are several obstacles that, including most of the students, there were limited internet quotients problems in the area with the student life. The suggestion, it is recommended for teachers, students, and parents to work together in forming a learning environment to achieve a conducive learning situation and accept learning goals during the COVID-19. Then the teacher are expected to be more creative and innovative in dealing with the online learning. And for further research, several questionnaire items can be developed to reanalyze the effectiveness of learning during online learning. I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for Ma'am Dina for your presentation. Actually, that was so nice presentation. Your presentation was talked about the effectiveness of teaching online teaching based quizzes during COVID-19. So I have the conclusion about your presentation here. That your presentation, the last of your presentation, the result of your presentation, that you say that quizzes was effective for teaching students during COVID-19. But we have actually this is kind of simple problem that we just have a problem in limited internet, or we don't have like a good connection or phone actually. So this is the last presentation of our international conference of UPP and CEC International Conference. But before we end up our presentation today, is there any question of the audiences for Ma'am Dina Mariana Mostura? Is there any question? If you have a question, just write your question on the chat form. Is there any question? Is there any question? Is there any question for Miss Dina Mariana presentation? Miss Dina said before that quizzes is more interactive media for teaching English, and that good media for us if we have trouble when we are in teaching English during COVID-19. So quizzes will be the solution, for us to deliver our material in the classroom. So is there any question? If have no question, we would like to end up our presentation today. Is there any question? No questions? Actually, there is no question, ma'am.
Okay.
We have no question here. And if have no question, I would like to end our meeting today. No? Okay. So what about if I'm asking you, ma'am?
Yes.
Do you love me? Do you love me too? It's okay? Okay. So, you know, quizzes is kind of media that we can use attractively, actually. So, I mean, like how quizzes can make students more attractive and make students feel more comfortable during online learning, basically, ma'am.
Yeah, quizzes is application that the student use this answer the question. I use quizzes to ask the student answer some questions such as evaluation. So they answer my question using this application. There is a choose optional just in when they want to answer the question, they can there is description under the, how can I say it, some description that they can know what we want, what the question, what the answer we want, that the teacher want. Such text that we show a text that not too long text, just short text that to make them easy to understand what the question want, what they want to answer.
Okay, thank you, ma'am Dina. So I mean, like in quizzes, can we have a game on that application? Do we have a game on that application? On quizzes application, do we have a game on that, or just?
Yes.
Oh, we have game.
Yes, if answer the question, the students play this like a game.
Oh, like a game. So that's one way, like one of some methods in quizzes that can make students more attractive during teaching online learning, yeah, ma'am? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks for Ma'am Dina Mariana Mastura for nice presentation today. So the end of presentation, Ma'am Dina Mariana Mastura. So actually, it will be the end of our presentation today because we have no more presenter to deliver their presentation or their article. So I would like to close this international conference, which held by CEC and collaborate with UPP. So thanks for thanks for this nice time that allowing me to be a moderator. So I would like to say thank you for all the audiences for being here. Actually, for listen to our presentation. And I would like to close. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And
Recording stopped.